Hey, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's MFSN The Hub Fantasy Strategy Show, where I'm Kasey Shienvold. I'm here with Ross the Boss. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy strategy playoff edition with you, cowboy. Yes, Kasey.
Yeah, we try to help you on the long game of fantasy sports, not just the in-season and moment-to-moment picks, but we're looking at the strategies that make you the most successful. Now, the NFL fantasy season, the regular season is over and the playoffs for fantasy purposes are over, but there are fantasy football leagues that are just focused on the fantasy playoffs. And so we can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, there's been a lot of coaching changes in the NFL, or there's going to be coaching changes. There's been a lot of firings. So there's stuff we can talk about. Obviously, we would love to hear from you guys. We'd love to get questions. We're better at answering questions than coming up with our own topics. So please feel free to share with us any questions you may have or any topics you'd like us to discuss. We'll be happy to talk about them. But Ross, what do you think? What are you looking forward to most, other than your Bengals victory? What are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
Well, again, I'm excited. It's 2 games on Saturday, right? We got two games on Saturday. I'm excited for the Jacksonville game and the Charger game, actually. I think that's going to be a very interesting game. Both teams have not been in the playoffs that much the past years. So I'm glad both teams made it. I do like the quarterbacks for both teams. They're both young and hungry, so that should be great. I'm looking forward to, of course, my Bengals, Baltimore. I think that's going to be a blowout. Bengals should blow them out. I mean, the game I think I'm like looking for most is the hat you're wearing. I mean, the Giants are going to Minnesota. They're going to Minnesota. They're going away, and Minnesota has shown that they can lose bad at home via Cowboys. Destroyed them at home. And I mean, their defense is bad. Saquon Barkley is playing great. And Daniel Jones should have a field day running the ball against Minnesota. So both you and I love that game. We like the Giants. I see you wearing the hat.
I'm a fan.
But I like all the playoff games. I mean, it should be a fun weekend. Even Buffalo, Miami. I know people think Miami's going to get blown out. They're starting their third string quarterback.
Rookie. Yeah, Skylar
Thompson, great name. But I don't. Again, they have Waddle and they have Hill as the receivers, so I'd never count them out. I mean, if I had those guys as my receivers, I could throw 300 yards. I mean, they're unbelievable.
It's interesting. I just thought of this now, but like the coach of Miami, I'm blanking on his name.
McDaniels, or
he's the Shanahan disciple.
Yeah, he looks like Waldo, right?
Mike McDaniel, you're right. Yeah.
Mike McDaniel, yeah.
So the two kind of most similar coaches are Shanahan and McDaniel. Like they play the same style offense. Right. They coach kind of the same creative way. And they're the two teams that are going with third string rookie quarterbacks into the playoffs. And yet you look at the Dolphins and you think this guy's has no chance. They're going to get blown out by the Buffalo. Then you look at Brock Purdy over there in San Francisco, and you're like, they're still Super Bowl material. So it's an interesting dynamic. Now, San Francisco is Super Bowl material because they have a defense and Miami doesn't.
And they're at home, and they have the weather's going to help San Francisco a lot this weekend. Miami has to go to Buffalo, where I guarantee it's going to be below 32 degrees. It's going to be freezing there, obviously. So the home field for Buffalo is huge. Again, these players, I know some of them play college football in the snow, but when you're not in the snow every day, it takes you a while to get used to it. It's not a good cold in Buffalo. It's not.
I don't think there is such a thing as a good cold.
I mean, Josh Allen, University of Wyoming, he's been playing in Buffalo for a few seasons now. He's a cold weather quarterback. I mean, he really is.
Yeah.
These guys are used to playing the cold, and if you're not used to playing that kind of cold weather, I mean, we interviewed football players and they've all agreed, like the worst place for weather for cold, it's just a whole different type of atmosphere is Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay, it's just a different chill. They all say, like, when you're on the sidelines, you're freezing and your bones are freezing, everything. But so I think home field for Buffalo is a big, big thing, especially against Miami this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I know you said don't count them out, but that game could be played in Miami, and I'd still pick Buffalo by at least a touchdown. So
Yeah, and I think Josh Allen's going to be the highest scoring fantasy player this week in
okay,
football. So if you're playing like daily fantasy, those kind of things, those mud cash games and all that stuff,
yeah.
I know I'm sure he's the highest on the board, but he's worth the money. I mean, he really is. Of course, second is Burrow, and third, I'm taking Daniel Jones. How do you like that, Kasey Shienvold?
See, and I was going to say I might think that Daniel Jones could end up being the highest scoring if he runs one in and throws for a couple. But that's
I
my
have him third, Casey. I have him third at Burrow too. I think Burrow's
yeah.
going to have a field day with Baltimore, and he's a folk hero in Ohio. And I have your
I
guy
hear you.
Daniel Jones. I have them in that order. So that's my daily quarterback position. Those are my three top quarterbacks that you should play in fantasy.
All right. So the first game is Saturday at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, Seattle at San Francisco. I'm going to ask you for one bold prediction for each game. So what's your bold prediction for Seattle, San Francisco?
Seattle, San Francisco. My bold prediction is Walker will have 100 yards and a touchdown. That's the running back for Seattle.
Yeah.
But McCaffrey's going to have 2 touchdowns, 100 yards receiving, and he'll have 2 touchdowns doing that. And San Francisco should win by over 10 points.
Okay. Okay. I think DK Metcalf's going to have a big game. I see him getting into the end zone
He's
twice.
due. He's
I
due.
see him
He
getting
hasn't
into the
played
end
that
zone
great the
twice.
past few weeks, but he's due. And Geno Smith, I mean, talking about having a career year. I mean, he had a better year than Russell Wilson, the guy he took over for. He's having a better year than him.
Yeah. How good does that trade look for Seattle now? Because they have Denver's first round pick out of it too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a great pick.
Goodness.
And Geno Smith, I know he's been kind of shaky the past couple. I mean, he's been doing okay. Not what he did the middle of the season, but still, I think Geno Smith could put numbers up. But I think you're right. I think the 49ers defense will keep them at least.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a lot. But I could see DK Metcalf having a game. All right, the second game on Saturday. What's your bold prediction? Jacksonville and the Chargers.
Well, Herbert he didn't have a great year. I mean, people I know the Chargers in playoffs, but throwing touchdown passes, it's not that good. I mean, very mediocre at best. And on the other end, we got Trevor Lawrence. This is like his come out game. I mean, Peterson, the coach, I mean, obviously it was a coaching problem last year with Trevor Lawrence. The offense just didn't work for him, but this year it's working. Their defense looks pretty good. Jacksonville, they're doing okay. They're not great, but they're not bad. I'm going to take, as much as I want to say, I want to take you know what? I'm going to take Jacksonville just because they're at home. I know Eckler's going to be a monster against Jacksonville. I see it. Travis Etienne will probably have a big game too, but my prediction is Jacksonville will win and Trevor Lawrence will have 3 touchdown passes. That's my bold prediction. How about that?
Nice. I was going to say this is going to be the highest total points of any game this weekend.
I like it.
I think you're going to see points on both ends. I don't think they can stop Eckler. I think Herbert is still a franchise quarterback, and he's going to find a way to get a ball into the end zone once or twice. But I think you're going to see Trevor Lawrence this is like remember how good he was with Clemson in the national championship? Like he's a big game player and I think you could see Christian Kirk and Etienne and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, like all of them put a game together. I don't know if they're going to win, but I guarantee you my bold prediction is that each team scores more than 28 points.
And you remember when we talked about this before, the Chargers played last week. The game did not mean anything.
Yeah, Mike Williams.
And they had their starters out there till in the fourth quarter. I mean, Herbert, Williams, and Allen, they were all playing. And now Williams didn't even go to practice today because he's hurt from last week. Just shows you stupidity on the coach. Why would you have your player out there in the fourth quarter if you know you're not in the playoffs and you can't change?
Yeah, at some point, I know you want to be a player's coach and listen to your players, but at some point you got to say, nope, this is not.
So Mike Williams may not play. He's still questionable. We don't know, but they do have Palmer and Carter. I like those guys as the other receivers core, and of course, and Ingram is their tight end. I mean, they'll be fine. So Everett, I think. Excuse me. Ingram is the tight end for Jacksonville.
Right. All right. First game on Sunday. Let's go
What do we
to
got?
it. The first game on Sunday is Miami Buffalo. Bold prediction.
Bold prediction: Buffalo 41, Miami 13. It should be a blowout game. I think the special teams of Buffalo, they scored 2 touchdowns last week. They'll score 2 touchdowns this week. I think they're just highly motivated, especially with especially the great news on the player who got hurt last week.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be on a high. I see Allen having 300 yards passing and 100 yards rushing, and probably totaling at least 5 touchdowns, combining rushing and throwing.
Wow, that's
on Josh Allen. He'll run the ball a lot in the playoffs. I think he's been saving it a little bit. He doesn't want to get hurt, but playoffs is a whole different animal. So that's my prediction for that game. I think Allen will be involved in 5 touchdowns.
I could see that, but I don't know. My thought is game script on this. I could see Buffalo getting up big early, and then they're going to I see James Cook going for 100 combined yards, rushing and receiving, and getting in the end zone. I think if Josh Allen throws it to him in the end zone, that's how he gets it. That obviously helps your goal. But I think this is going to be kind of a coming out party for James Cook, because I think they're going to get him experience in this game, because they want to see what he can do in the next round and what they can rely on him for. So I could see him getting over 100 yards and a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be a very close game. I still think Tyreek Hill is going to get his.
You can't guard the guy. I mean, the guy's the hardest guy in the NFL to guard. You heard it from me.
And so I think he's still going to get at least 70 yards and probably get in the end zone. Jalen Waddle might do the same thing, but they're not going to score more than 14 or 17 points. And I see at least 28 to 30 some odd points coming from Buffalo.
And Gabe Davis, at least 1 touchdown. How about that one?
Gabe Davis is a primetime player too. Remember what he did against Kansas City last year. So he's
3 touchdowns. He's
certainly proven that he can't get guarded when he's going. All right. Now it's the best game of the weekend.
Giants,
the one everybody cares about the most. The Giants traveling to Minnesota.
So we all know how bad Minnesota's defense is. We all know how they can't stop the run. Their DBs get burned all the time. We all know that Minnesota last week, Justin Jefferson had a worst game of the year last year. We all know that happened too, especially everybody who had fantasy championships and had been on your team. I'm sorry.
Crushed. Yeah.
I'm sorry. He ruined your championship. But all that being said, I mean, I talked about this before. I like the Giants. I like Barkley being healthy. I like Daniel Jones. He's ready to run. I love that Richie James. I love Bellinger. I like their offense. The defense is, they're average. They're not bad. They're not great, but
they need linebackers.
I mean, if they had Lawrence Taylor in his prime, I'll be a little more comfortable saying this prediction.
Even Michael Strahan would do it.
Even Michael Strahan, I agree with you. But I just think Minnesota is just, they're so up and down. And Kirk Cousins, I just can't say take Kirk Cousins in the playoffs as much as I want to say that. I can't. So I'm taking the Giants. I say Daniel Jones rushes for at least 80 yards, has 1 rushing touchdown at least, and I say Richie James for the Giants has a big game.
Not to be confused with Rick James.
Yeah, Rick James, who's no longer with us, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I like where your head's at. I'm picking the Giants too. Obviously, that's as much an emotional pick as a logical pick, but my bold prediction was going to be 190 yards combined on the ground for Barkley and Daniel Jones. And they're going to combine for 4 total touchdowns, not just in their rushing. Well, wow. I think Daniel Jones gets 1 rushing and 2 passing, and Saquon runs 1 in. So that would be
both on the same thing. But Justin Jefferson will have his 100 yards. He should have a touchdown. But Devin Cook has really he's
Dalvin,
he's done nothing this year, really. I mean, I know he has some yards and stuff, but he just does nothing. He does not get in the end zone that much. So
no, see, I think the person who's going to have the best game in Minnesota is TJ Hawkinson. I just think
you like the tight end.
I don't think the Giants guard the tight end very well. And he's an athletic tight end who can get open and create separation. So I think you're going to see so much attention paid to Justin Jefferson by the safeties that Hawkinson can just run free up the seam over and over and over again.
I agree.
All right. The last game Saturday is your favorite game of the weekend.
This game is 5. It's on at 5:15 Sunday night, Pacific time, 8:15 Kasey Shienvold time.
That's right. Not Eastern time, Kasey time.
Kasey time, exactly. The Bengals are at home. Burrow, as I've been saying this, the guy's just a winner. He loves prime time. He loves the lights on him. He doesn't get nervous. His three receivers, T. Higgins and Boyd and Chase, and they'll all come through for him on Sunday. And Joe Mixon should have a pretty good game. And Baltimore's defense is not great. They're fine. They're not great. But and I don't know if Lamar Jackson's playing. I don't know if Huntley practiced today. Who knows what's going on with their starters? But it doesn't matter. The Bengals will win at home in the jungle, and the Bengals should win convincingly. I think Joe Burrow will go off on Sunday night. He'll have a great time, and the Bengals will win.
I agree with the prediction that the Bengals will win, but I think it's going to be Joe Mixon. The Bengals, I think they're going to, the Ravens are going to be looking at the pass so much that you're going to see the screen and draw game go crazy, I think, for Joe Mixon. And I could see him getting.
Here's a quick question for you. What running back had the best game this year in fantasy? Go.
Joe Mixon.
You are a winner. So we know he could put up touchdowns. We know
his game was better than Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. He had the best fantasy point game.
Oh, okay. Because he had like 5 touchdowns, right? Because Josh Jacobs had 200 yards.
Now you get it. So yeah, he had a huge game. I mean, it was like a tremendous game. And he was the talk of fantasy for a week. But Joe Mixon has it in him, so we all know he can run. The Bengals line should be okay. We're missing a couple players, just so you know. A couple guys and a couple starters are not suiting up, but I'm not that worried because we invested a lot in our offensive line. Even our backups are really good. So as long as these backups know they're playing this week, I think we'll be okay. And Joe Burrow knows when to get rid of the ball. I mean, he's not going to hold on to it that long. He's going to do a lot of short passes, screens. He'll do a lot of quick stuff. And it should be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it should be a fun game to watch only because since week 9, when I mentioned this on Tuesday, when the Ravens traded for Roquan Smith from the Bears, they have had the second ranked scoring defense or points against defense in the NFL, only behind San Francisco. I mean, Roquan Smith, you talk about a missing piece. These guys like put this stud center middle linebacker in there, and he's really stabilized that entire defense. So it could be a really fun game to watch. Okay, 1 game left. So my question for you is, does McCarthy get fired when Tom Brady beats the Cowboys on Monday night?
You know what? I was thinking about this game. I'm still going to take the Cowboys to win this game. I think the Cowboys will dig deep. Pollard will have a big game. Pollard will have 100 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns. Maybe Zeke will have 1 and he'll have 1. Maybe share the ball a little bit. But Pollard should have a huge game for Dallas. I think Dak will have a good game also. I think they'll be back, and I think their defense will be sacking Brady at least 3 or 4 times. And all that being said, I never bet against Brady, so I still say Dallas.
but that's again, it is.
Don't think Brady's out of it. I mean, people are taking Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay's at home. I mean, it's going to be 75 degrees in Tampa Bay or 70 degrees in Tampa Bay at kickoff. So it should be a fun game Monday night to watch, and it could be Brady's last game ever. You never know. So everybody better be watching the game. It could be history. You never know what's going to happen with him.
I'm not betting against Brady, but my question is a serious one though. Do you think? I mean, McCarthy's job is on the line this week, considering 2 weeks ago they were playing for the potential to have the number 1 seed, to go out in a whimper the way they did against the Commanders, and if they then follow that up with going against the Bucks, who made the playoffs going like 8-9 or 9-8, whatever their record was for the season, do you think McCarthy gets the axe?
Let me do my Jerry Jones impression for everybody real quick. And this is right after, this is Jerry Jones in the press box or in the luxury box right after the Cowboys loss. Hey, it's Jerry Jones. Is this Coach Payton?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to make you a big offer to coach my Cowboys next year. I just want to make sure you're in, and tomorrow we'll make it legit. Is that okay? Sounds good. So I think if he loses, he'll be fired. And I think, which is Sean Payton, right? And
Sean Payton, yeah.
I think
Sean
Payton.
Not Gary Payton. Or
There's a few
Walter.
Paytons here. So Sean Payton, I think, will get that job and be the Cowboys coach if McCarthy's not win that game.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are, I mean, talking about Sean Payton, are the only ones who are willing to give up a draft pick to get a coach the way Tampa did many years ago with John Gruden. I don't see Arizona doing it. I don't see Indianapolis doing it. I don't see Carolina doing it. But I could see Jerry Jones trying to buy a championship. So,
well, I think Jerry Jones knows he needs a coach that can win. I think he has the horses. He just doesn't have the right coach. So I think Peyton could be the right coach for him.
yeah.
But all that being said, Monday night game should be a very high rated game. And my bold prediction for that game is I will take the Cowboys and I say Tony Pollard 100 yards rushing, and I say at least one touchdown.
Okay. And I say Mike Evans goes for 2 touchdowns and 90 yards. I just think I think they're going to put who's the God, I'm blanking on everybody's name today. Their cornerback who's so brash. And I think Mike Evans is just going to say, I'm going to play some old man football and teach you how it's really played, kid. And just
you cannot. Mike Evans, Texas A&M. He had a huge game a couple weeks ago. You can never count the guy out. And every year he's played football, he's had over 1,000 yards. So Mike Evans, I'm a huge fan. You don't have to sell me on him. I like him. It just he was getting frustrated. Tom Brady was not getting him the ball, but I think they're back on sync now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and so I just think that he is going to teach a lesson to the young man, Trayvon Diggs. That's who it is. To young Trayvon Diggs.
His brother plays for the Bills. Yep, Trayvon
right.
Diggs. He's there. He's the guy either gets burned or gets an interception. He gets burned a lot.
He can be a shutdown corner at times, but he's aggressive.
He takes a lot of chances. I've seen him. Trust me, I've seen him get burned many times.
And if there is a quarterback and wide receiver duo smart enough to know how to take advantage of that, I would argue that it's Tom Brady and Mike Evans.
Godwin could have a big game. I mean, there's a lot of potential with receivers on that team. They have a lot of weapons. I mean, they really do.
It all boils down to whether they can contain Micah Parsons on the pass rush. Like that kid can disrupt a game plan. So
he's been hurt too. He was hobbling last game. I mean, he really was. He was not 100%. I hope he's at least 80% this weekend.
So I think you've said that you think Josh Allen, if we're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, and there are playoff leagues where
you can join leagues. You can look it up online. You can join. Yahoo has fantasy playoff leagues. I mean, you can. There's a lot of them, and some of them are cash leagues. Doesn't matter. But all that being said, yeah, my top 3 quarterbacks. If you have to take a quarterback in one of these cash leagues or these daily fantasy leagues, number 1 is Allen. Number 2 is Burrow. Number 3, I'm taking Daniel Jones. So,
yeah,
but usually,
so let's do your top 3 wide receivers.
My top 3 wide receivers
for this weekend.
This weekend. Number 1, I'm taking Mr. Chase for the Bengals. Number 2, I'll take Diggs for Buffalo. I'm taking a lot of chalk here, but I mean, these guys are.
Yeah, that's what you do in the playoffs. You take.
I'm sorry, but that's who I like. And then I'll take a little surprise. I'll take Christian Kirk in Jacksonville because his value is low. I want people to be able to take somebody who's kind of low money.
Yeah.
So number 3 is Christian Kirk. I think he'll have at least 1 touchdown and 100 yards. I think we talked about Trevor Lawrence going to have a big game, and Christian Kirk, another Texas A&M graduate, should be part of that too. So those are my top 3. But I think Chase for the Bengals will have a big game. He'll have a big game, against Baltimore. You can't guard that guy.
So I'm going to go. What order would I put them in? I'm going to take Mike Evans.
So you like Evans 1. So he's think about Evans as he plays Monday. So sometimes the Monday night games are not available on the fantasy stuff.
Okay. So
that's okay. You can take Evans. I'm just letting everybody know.
Number 2, I'm going to take Jefferson. I just think
Wow.
No matter what, I think the Giants are going to do their best, but I still think he's a
Well,
lock for 100 yards and a touchdown.
If you have Jefferson, he's going to cost you the most money of all the receivers
Yeah.
we said already. So
Well,
keep going.
if I'm looking for a value pick,
Yep, I need a value pick.
Um,
Evans is a good value.
I'm going to take Gabe Davis as my value pick.
Love it.
I
love
see
Gabe Davis, and like you said earlier, it's prime time. The lights are on.
I was also leaning towards DK Metcalf, but I don't know if he's value or not. I don't know where he'll be put in the money and how much he'll cost.
And my fourth pick, this guy went to an unbelievable university.
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers.
Of the University of Arizona.
No, Arizona State. Thank you. No University of.
He's a Wildcat.
He's an Arizona Sun Devil, but Arizona State Sun Devil. But I think Ayuk should have a good game too for the 49ers. I think that he'll step.
I was thinking about him too, but I just think the 49ers are going to score with McCaffrey and Kittle.
Yeah.
I think Kittle is the top tight end this weekend. I don't know who I would put over him.
I like it. I like Ingram for the Jacksonville. Those two.
Yeah, but if Christian Kirk has a big day,
I know. I'm just saying I like it, but Kittle's been the hottest tight end in the NFL.
I also like Hawkinson, so I'm picking two Vikings in there. So
there you go.
Running backs. I think we both could agree that probably Eckler would be the number one running
Austin
back.
Eckler's like I said this before, 107 receptions this season as a receiver. 107. That's unbelievable.
I think Eckler and McCaffrey are chalk.
Eckler's going to be he's going to be the top.
He and McCaffrey
dog, but it's going to cost you an arm and leg to have him on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
Number two, I'm taking Saquon Barkley. I'm taking Barkley. I'm taking your Giant.
I like it.
I think Barkley's healthy. I think they'll hand the ball off to him at least 20, 25 times, and he'll catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he'll have a big day, and I don't think the Minnesota Vikings can contain him. How about that?
I like it.
Another guy, it's another, you're going to get mad. It's another Jacksonville Jaguar. Travis ATM, he'll get the ball 20 times. He'll be receiving the ball at least 5, 6, 10, 6 times.
Yeah.
This guy, they really don't have they have I think Blackshears, their other running back, but all around, I think Hasty also, he's there too.
Jermichael Hasty. Yeah.
He's there. So I like ATM. I like McCaffrey, of course. There's a lot of running backs. I love Walker I love him.
Yep.
I love K9. I call him K9 because he wears the number 9. Get it?
Yeah.
But I love Tony Pollard, as I said before. So there's a lot of good running backs out there.
Yeah, I was going to say the running back is, you don't have to take chalk to get impact at running back, because I think Joe Mixon could have a good game. I told you I think James Cook is going to have a good game. Tony Pollard is a good running back, and you're right. Ken Walker is also potential to be a stud. So it is interesting. We talked all season about how, from a fantasy perspective, wide receivers are the way to go for points. But now in the real NFL, when you get to the playoffs, look what the best teams all seem to have, right? They all seem to have a really good running back. So
Kenneth Walker III, the fantasy draft is tomorrow. Where do you draft him?
Amongst running backs or overall?
Overall.
Is this a dynasty league or a redraft?
Not. It's redraft, single quarterback, and you're on the clock, and you have an early pick in the second round. What do you do? And he's available.
Oh, early in the second round. I was going to say, I think he's a late second round pick, but I wouldn't pick again until the end of the third in a snake draft. So I might pull it. If I got one of my top 5 quarterbacks or top 3 quarterbacks in the first round, or I got or I got a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase and missed on the top 4 quarterbacks already, I think Walker is right there in the early second round, but I would prefer to get him in late in the second.
I like it. I think Walker in Dynasty, he's a top 3 in the ratings. If I was rating the Dynasty running backs, he's for sure in the top 5 just because of his age.
Dynasty, I don't know how many running backs I would take ahead of him.
The thing is, him in Seattle, they run the ball. I mean, that's
Yeah,
their
Pete
playbook.
Carroll likes to run. Yeah.
So, and Walker's is a rookie this year. Obviously, he's going to be in the league for at least 4
Yeah,
or
and
5
they have
years.
2 good wide receivers, so they can't really key on the run. They're going to have a top 5 pick next year in the draft so they might get an offensive lineman or they might get a better pass rush. I think they need the pass rush, but
And Seattle, to me, is like them and Seattle and Jacksonville are the biggest surprises for me to make the playoffs this year.
the Giants were the biggest surprise for me.
Oh, God, see, I always think New York. I always think they have a chance. It's because it's the New York team. They always
Yeah.
there's so much emphasis in New York, but Jacksonville. You did not have Jacksonville going to playoffs.
No, I didn't, but I had
No
the
way.
Giants coming in last in
And
their
there's
division.
no way after Seattle lost their franchise quarterback, Russell Wilson, and Geno Smith was named their starter. There's no way you said that.
No, I'm not saying I expected them to be in at all. No,
I
but I'm
didn't.
just saying the Giants were the biggest surprise. I didn't expect, especially when they gave up like 300 yards rushing in the first, in 3 of the first 4 games. It looked like they were playing a turnstile defense.
Barkley, if healthy, is just a game changer. That's. I said if Barkley got hurt, the Giants would not get playoffs. Barkley did not get hurt, and they made the playoffs.
Yeah, but so, yeah. I mean, look, it's going to be fun this weekend. I love playoff football.
So tight ends, I think Kittle's one.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think Kittle's just been the past 3-4 games. He's been touchdown every week.
Yep.
Mark Andrews, do you think he'll have a good game this week? I mean,
no. I think he's a shell of himself right now.
There you go. Okay, I agree.
I think it's Kittle, and then I think number 2 is Hawkinson, and then number 3 is Evan Ingram. Those would be my top 3.
I'll give you somebody who's going to be like a more cheaper price. I like Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
I think Schultz for Dallas will have a good game. I also like Evan Ingram you mentioned. And
what are your thoughts on Dawson Knox?
It's just he's been beginning of the season. He did not do anything for like 7 weeks. I mean, he was like just blanked. And then the past couple of weeks, Allen's been getting the ball. So I'm not against him, but I think there's a lot better picks out there for you to go for than Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
But if you do get him on your fantasy team for the playoffs, it's not a bad guy to have on your team.
And if you think that Daniel Jones is going to throw for a touchdown or 2, you can do a lot worse than Bellinger as your tight end too, because he's a big target for him in the red zone. And he'll be cheap.
And he's cheap. I agree. I agree. But of course, if you have the decision and you have the money to pay for Kittle, that's who I would have.
Yeah, I would take Kittle in a heartbeat.
I do like Dalton Schultz. I think he'll have a big game. Ingram, I like. Everett, I like. I mean, there's the tight end position in the playoffs. There's like 4 or 5 good ones. So don't think you have to go with the top dog and Kittle. You can draft a little lower or save a few bucks and go with a cheaper tight end. But this weekend should be a very fun weekend, I think.
Yeah. One thing we didn't talk about is Derek Carr. What are your thoughts on what the Raiders did and then his kind of farewell post to the city of Las Vegas and Raider Nation today?
I thought it was a class thing. I mean, I read what he did on Twitter, or was it Instagram? One of the two he wrote a thing for, but I read it. Maybe he posted on both, but he class act. I mean, I feel that he had all the time in the world to make the Raiders a good team, and he just couldn't do it. I mean, he just couldn't.
Yeah,
he couldn't deliver them anything really. I mean, he made a lot of mental mistakes, a lot of interceptions at bad times, and I think the Raiders were very patient and they gave him all the chances in the world.
And they gave him some weapons. I mean, Josh Jacobs was one of the best running backs in football this year, and Devontae Adams is a true number 1. Their defense hasn't been great, but yeah, he didn't come up clutch when they needed him to come up clutch. He didn't have that kind of clutch gene. And that's not saying he's not a good quarterback and that he won't end up on another team and be given a chance to compete for the starting spot. The Raiders, I think, they were frustrated. I mean, now they had the one guy, the wide receiver from Alabama, who's now in jail. So they've had some tragedy happen to the team. But yeah, Derek Carr, he had Darren Waller when he even had him healthy for those years. He wasn't healthy this year, but when he had him healthy, he still couldn't figure out a way to get him past the
I mean,
finish
do
line.
you bring in Aaron Rodgers, who's 39 years old? Do you bring him in and have him as the starting quarterback for
I
you?
think if you feel your team is good enough to win in the next 2 years, yes.
So you say yes. I
don't think they're good enough to win in the next 2 years. I mean, you're talking the AFC West. You're talking some San Diego and Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver is never far away from being competitive again. They're just in a really tough division, and so I don't think they're there yet. So I probably would not want to spend $45 million guaranteed a year on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's like 3 or 4 good quarterbacks coming out of college this year that are going to be really good NFL quarterbacks. Caleb Williams is not coming out.
I know he's
the
not
Heisman winner. He's a sophomore. He can't come out till next year. He'll probably make more money this year with the NILs.
Isn't that crazy? God,
they're coming out. I mean, it's like he doesn't have to come out. He can just play. These guys can just play college for 6-7 years.
Sean Clifford of Penn State, right? He's I think
finally he's graduating. I mean, how many years can he play football for? I read somewhere that some guy's going to his 9th year in college.
Oh, jeez. That reminds me of Tommy Boy. Did you ever watch Tommy Boy?
Oh, yeah.
Where he said a lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
But I mean, with all this NIL stuff, it's not like, some of these players can stay in school and be the big fish in a small pond and make all this money.
Yeah, it's not like back in the day. I don't know if you remember, but I mean, of course you remember who Warwick Dunn was with Florida State, the stud running back.
Yeah.
But when he decided to come back for his senior year or whatever, they had a press conference and they asked him, because he was giving up all that money. He's like, look, I've lived poor my whole life. One more year of poor won't make a difference. And whereas now it's like, why aren't you coming out? Well, I could stay in college and party for another year and make $5 million in endorsement deals or $6 million in endorsement deals. Why wouldn't I?
I mean, Caleb Williams took a private plane to New York, brought his offensive lineman with him as his guests, and put them all up at a hotel, and then flew back private, and he paid for it all.
Yeah.
And he didn't get the money from some alumnus guy. He got the money from his NIL deal.
Right. Now, the company that gave him the NIL deal are probably alumnus too, but that's okay.
Well, it's all in cahoots, but now it's legal.
Yeah, now they can't complain about it.
But it's amazing to me how these college players, like back when I was in school, they would have to like hide their BMW. They would have to hide their jewelry because they didn't want the press to see
Reggie Bush,
Reggie Bush. I mean, I had a friend I went to school with named David Fulcher. He was a safety for the Bengals too. He was an all-pro safety, and he played for ESU. And this guy was an intimidating guy. He used to walk. He had a bicycle the first couple of years, and he wore a big chain that he around his neck because that was his bike chain. But this guy, all-pro safety, unbelievable. I think he's in the Hall of Fame, maybe not. But he as a senior, he got a BMW. Some agent got it for him. Hope I'm not getting anybody in trouble, but it's years ago, doesn't matter. But he had to hide the car and stuff from the Arizona Republic and all the press because he didn't want it to get out that he was driving around in a very expensive sports car. But now it doesn't matter. Now they can do anything they want. Kasey, on tomorrow, Crespi, where my son went to school, it's a high school about 2 miles away. They're in basketball. They're playing Sierra Canyon, and that's LeBron James's someplace.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to the game on
nice.
Friday. So I want to let everybody know I'll be there. And LeBron doesn't play until like Sunday or something. So I think LeBron's going to be there too. So if he's there, I'll see if he'll come on the show next week to talk football with us.
That would be great. Yeah. Or fantasy basketball.
Yeah, fantasy basketball. But Dr. Jan Radner is not invited if LeBron comes on to see.
That's right. He would fanboy too much. It would just get ugly. He would drool.
He'll be there. I'll take some pics, so don't worry.
All right. Well, Anything else you think we should cover, or do you think we got it?
Well, I think we covered pretty well. We don't have, any questions from the audience, would be happy to answer.
Yeah.
People don't really,
Thoughts?
after the fantasy season's over, people
So
are
few
done. I
people
mean, they
do the
really are.
fantasy playoffs, and now they're just excited
Starting,
to watch the games.
I mean, starting next month when spring training opens up a month from today.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
A month from today. So we'll do baseball, Kasey. I know that's your calling. You love baseball. You love talking baseball. A lot of movement in free agent signings happened during the winter. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the teams that improved, some of the teams that did not improve. But you know what? It should be a fun baseball season, and
It should be, yeah.
And I just love how some of the star players have moved around a little bit.
Well, Carlos Correa tried to sign in each time zone, like that was, and he succeeded. So, and he's back where he started. So that's great.
It's amazing to me with Carlos. I know he's a good player, but just the amount of money they're paying for an above average shortstop. Don't tell me he's in the same league with
I think he's better than you think he is, but I get what you're saying.
Okay, what rating right now? If you were doing ratings of shortstops or fantasy baseball,
where would I put him?
Yeah, you can look it up a little bit.
I put him in the top 5.
Do you have him above? To say yes or no, above Trey Turner?
No, Trey Turner is my number 1.
Above Bogarts?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the power is more consistent from fantasy perspective. I think he's he's a much better defensive shortstop if you're looking for real world kind of shortstop versus fantasy shortstop. So I do have him above Bogarts. Gosh, let's see.
Who else?
I like Bo Bichette better because of the speed.
I do like Bo Bichette. We'll talk about this really quick. I'll just give my audience a little taste of what we're going to talk about when we talk baseball. Bo Bichette's lineup and who he's surrounded with is really good. Toronto has a great lineup, and he'll get RBIs, he'll get runs scored, people who knock him in. But when you look at a team like the Nationals, they don't really have much of a power lineup. And if you're the star player of the Nationals, you may have a great name value, but if you don't have players around you to hit you in and to help you when you're on base, or even help you like before you get up, you're not going to be that great fantasy wise. So you got to worry about what team you sign with. I did see Nelson Cruz sign with the Padres. I saw that yesterday.
So did Xander. All right, so if I was to give you my kind of the ones I would rank above him, are Turner, Bichette.
Okay.
I think Lindor is back, so I'm going to put Francisco Lindor up there.
I agree with Lindor. I was going to say Lindor is in my top 5.
And maybe this is a shock, but Bobby Witt Jr.
That's a shock.
I think he's going to hit 25 home runs and steal you 30 bags, and you can't get that in fantasy.
We'll talk about this, folks, in February. Don't worry, and I'll argue him about Bobby Witt Jr. being a top 5 shortstop, which he's not. Trevor Story's not even playing next year, so he won't be in the. He won't be.
Trevor Story's not even in my top 30. The only other ones I would consider up there would be Bogarts, maybe Tim Anderson if Tim Anderson is healthy. I would consider, and a healthy Corey Seager in Texas could put up good numbers. But
Corey Seager had some really good games last year with Texas. I mean,
he's unpredictable, and he's got the back issues and the hip issues. So again, he doesn't run. Like Correa doesn't run much, but at least he runs a little. The guys I'm ranking above him, Trey Turner is going to steal you 40 bags. Bo Bichette is going to steal you 30 bags. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to steal you 30 bags. And I think Francisco Lindor is going to steal you 20 plus, especially the way how aggressive New York is going to be. So those are the reasons I would put that. Bogarts doesn't run at all, and he hits for a decent average. I'm not sure how it's going to work for him in San Diego with Machado and Fernando Tatis.
It's just, again, as I mentioned, his lineup is very strong. He'll have a lot of opportunities.
For RBIs, but
I mean, that lineup is, if Tatis is back and Nelson Cruz is now.
So who do you play at shortstop? Do you play Tatis in the outfield? Is he no longer a shortstop?
That's a great question. I was going to ask you that.
I'm assuming he becomes your center fielder because he can
play. He's a really good outfielder, and he can play outfield. But yes, I would say that unless you put Bogarts at
At
second base.
base, I don't know.
But I do like that Chile guy they had last year that did well. Is the Korean kid Kim? Remember him?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I forgot his first name. There's no way I can remember that. There's no way.
I'm impressed you got that much. So you're good with me.
But he basically had a pretty good year hitting. He was good. I mean, I don't know. I guess you're just making utilities still, but the Padres have a very good, strong lineup in there.
Yeah.
That's another team that I would want to draft a lot of players from. Yes. You want to stay with, even though there's star names out there, but they're on bad teams. It's not a good idea, but we'll talk about that. I'm excited. I've been doing a lot of work on baseball the past few weeks, so I'm ready.
All right. Well,
so
everybody,
Tuesday we'll do our show at what time? 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. We'll be able to recap the weekend's playoff games and preview what's going to happen in the week to come. We might touch on fantasy basketball because the waiver wire is hot and toasty there.
Did we agree on every game Did we agree on every game? Did you take the Jacksonville or the Chargers? I took Jacksonville. Who did you take?
I took Jacksonville. Yeah, I think we did agree on. That means they're all good. They can't be right because we both agreed.
No, but I agreed on the Giants, and you agreed on the Bengals, and you agreed on.
No, we disagreed on Tampa, Dallas. I think Tampa's going to win.
I took Dallas. Okay, good. At least we have one game where we didn't agree. Good. Okay, good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Those of you who are watching this on record, thanks for watching us. Also, if you like what you're seeing, hit like, ring the bell for notifications. We'll tell you when everything new is coming out. Leave questions and comments. We love to talk to you guys, and hopefully we will see you next week.